Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over the water to Denmark once again, and we're going to revisit one of my favourite breweries that I've discovered since I've moved over here to Sweden, and I finally realised how to pronounce the name right. Thank you to Morten at Ølbutikken for telling me this. It's Amager, and this is Amager Bryghus, and we're going to have a taste of their Arctic Sunstone today, and this one is a collaboration beer. It was first released in 2015 if I'm not mistaken. It was part of the collaboration series that they did with a host of American breweries, and this one was done with Three Floyds from Indiana. My very first encounter with one of their beers, but this one is an American Pale Ale rated at 99 and 98 within the style on Rate Beer, so this one should be a pretty damn awesome beer. And if you've watched my Amager reviews before, you will know that I really do love this brewery, and to try my first Three Floyds beer should be pretty interesting as well. I need to review some more of their stuff in the near future. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I'll do from both Amager and the ones I'll add in the future from Three Floyds as well. First time trying one of their beers, like I say, and there's all the usual social media things down there, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd. Please support me on there. If you do want to see more Nordic beer reviews as well as other things, do subscribe to the channel, and there's a lot of interesting things coming up. But do go and check out the brewery websites in the meantime. So anyway, to tell you about Amager Bryghus first. So Amager are based in Kastrup in Copenhagen in Denmark, and these guys are probably one of the best known Danish craft breweries outside, of course, of like Toil and Mikkeller. But these guys actually brew their beer in Denmark, which is pretty awesome. So the brewery was established in 2007 by two young friends, Morten Valentin Lundsbak and also Jakob Storm, and they were both quite avid home brewers, and apparently in school the pair were forced to do a chemistry and physics project together, so they wrote about the fermentation process of beers. So this kind of really sent them on the sort of downward spiral, if you like, towards becoming beeraholics and brewers, but they brew some pretty awesome beer, so nobody is going to hold that against them. But after opening in April 2007, the beers quickly established themselves throughout Copenhagen, and then their first brew kit was far too small to meet demand, so in 2011 they upgraded their facility, and as I say, they're based in Tornby in Kastrup in Copenhagen, very close to the airport actually. I do need to go and visit their brew pub, but apparently they've got quite a humorous approach to brewing beer as well, and they always like to put crazy stories on their labels, and you will see that just in a minute. But this has caused them problems when they've been exporting to the likes of Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, of course. In these countries we have the nationalised beer shops, but in Denmark you can sell beer wherever you want pretty much, and you can brew beer wherever you want, which is pretty awesome. If you want to start a beer brewery in Scandinavia, then you should really do it in Denmark. But these guys are really good, and as I say, a very, very highly rated brewery, and quite rightly so in my opinion. So do try some Amager beer if you get the chance. Really good brewery. So to tell you about Three Floyds, this is my first encounter with these guys. So Three Floyds, as I said, are based in Indiana, and they were founded in 1996 by Mike Floyd and his two sons Nick and Simon. Nick is the president of the company at the moment, if I remember correctly, but the brewery was originally based in Hammond, Indiana, but now they are based in Munster, and apparently they started out with just a few $100s to start the brewery, an old 5-barrel Frankenstein wok burner and some open converted Swiss cheese fermenters, and they also basically stick to the basic tenets of the German purity law, the four ingredients: hops, malt, water and yeast, and they say that that allows them to brew a huge variety of beers. And if you do go and check out their profile on Rate Beer, they're very, very highly rated. They've got 8 year-round beers and several seasonal and limited release ones, and some pub-only beers as well. But they've got their brew pub on the Indiana Parkway in Munster, and this also has a kiosk for takeout beers as well, so you can turn up there, get a load of the different things, and they also offer first come first served tours of the brewery every Saturday, and they've got quite a nice food menu as well. So do go and check out the website below. Hopefully I can get out to Indiana at some point and have a look. I've not been to the States in 6 years, so I need to get back there at some point, but hopefully quite soon. But do go and check out Three Floyds Brewing Company, and of course check out Amager Bryghus as well from Denmark. So let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer now. So this one is a 6% American Pale Ale. It was brewed as part of Amager's collaboration series. They did a lot of beers with different American breweries, of course. This one is hopped with Tomahawk, one of the favourites of Amager Bryghus, Centennial, Citra and Simcoe, and it's got a malt base of pale Munich and Melanoidin malts, and it uses a UK ale yeast strain. So I'll just read the little blurb that's on the side of this one, as I always like to do. It says this here, the Sunstone. Much disputed among scholars, did the Viking navigators really have such a tool that would help them point out what was east and what was west? Even on a less than sunny day, we certainly believe so. Many years later, no Sunstone was needed when Amager Bryghus was invaded by what very much looked like Viking ancestors of American descent. Hailing from Munster, Indiana, Chris Bogus and Barnaby Struve of Three Floyds Brewing arrived, not with a vengeance, but with a very loud King Diamond on their portable MP3 player. King Diamond, of course, one of the kind of icons of Danish metal, if you like. But this was not a day for slaughter, but for brewing, and brew we did. The mellow and dangerous quaffable Arctic Sunstone is proof that even Viking warriors can have a more subtle side to them. All hail to Three Floyds. So yeah, it says served between 6 and 9 degrees, American Pale Ale. And it tells you all the hops and things inside this one, so really quite nicely done. I'll just let you have a quick look at the artwork before we open it up there. As you can see, there's the Viking with the Sunstone in his right hand and the, is it a sword or a bat? Yeah, it's a sword in his left hand. I thought it was maybe a battle axe, but yeah, you can see quite nicely presented. There's the little blurb on the side. This label's quite shiny, so it's a bit annoying for the light and the camera, but you can see down here, here's the Three Floyds and Amager symbols, and it tells you the actual profile of the beer too. So very, very nicely presented, as it always is the case with Amager. And yeah, my first taste of a Three Floyds beer. So let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting here. Usual Amager Bryghus bottle cap on this one, by the way. Forgot to show you that. I'm having to use my 3 Swedish crowns to actually prop up the beer bottle on this so that the light doesn't reflect off the shiny surface. If you wonder why the 3 coins are there in some of my beer reviews, that's the reason. It's just to kind of stop the light reflecting off the bottle. Leave it at that just now. That's enough to have a little look at the colour of the beer. I've poured about half of it at the moment, but we'll finish off the other half later, of course. So as you can see, this beer has poured quite a bright, hazy, orange amber colour. It is very, very opaque. You can see when I bring the light across here, but very attractive looking beer. That I've just poured half of it, and there's a solid 2 fingers of a frothy white head there. If I put my fingers behind it, I can see there is a level of transparency, but of course the beer is pretty opaque, so you're not going to see much through it. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the bottom sides of the glass there, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head. So it looks really quite a nice beer actually. Very nice looking American Pale Ale. So let's have a look at the aroma on this one. Ooh, actually smells very like an IPA. So one thing I noticed, I reviewed the Shadow Pictures recently and also the Batch 1000. The Shadow Pictures wasn't that much of a step up from the Batch 1000 actually. Double IPA and single IPA. So I'm interested to see what the APA, the one below the IPA, looks like. Of course, these things all depend on the hops and malt ratios. That's how you define these pale ale styles. But yeah, it smells really nice. For me, there's a big orangey citrus just providing the backbone of this beer. Real nice orangey citrus in there. But of course, there's quite a juicy tropical fruit aroma coming from this one. There's some grapefruit, passion fruit. Passion fruit, of course, comes from the Simcoe. The passion fruit's one of the big fruits that comes out of the Simcoe hop. But I think there's a bit of a peachy juiciness too, but the grapefruit is quite juicy in this one. You can really notice that in this beer. But the Citra, of course, the Citra hop gives you quite a complex sort of, gives you quite a big, complex, fruity character to the beer. But there's a big, spicy, floral, aromatic character. And that, of course, will be from the Tomahawk. Amager love to use either Hercules or Tomahawk, and really those are just big, bittering hops. They're really nice. I don't know if Tomahawk are German, but Hercules are German hops, and they're really, really nice. But yeah, big, floral, spicy, aromatic character from this one. There's a definite little hint of pine resin. It's quite subtle, but if you sugar the beer up a bit, you can pick that up. And of course, that's from the Simcoe. The Simcoe has this really nice passion fruity, kind of piney resin character. And of course, you can pick up some of the nice bready malt in this one. There's some caramel sweetness, and maybe just a little bit of biscuit too, which is quite interesting. You can smell a bit of the melanoidin malt coming out too. But yeah, really nice aroma. One of the best aromas from an American Pale Ale that I've had actually. A lot of them can be very light in comparison to the IPA, but this one has a lot of the components that you would expect of an IPA. It's a big aroma, and you wouldn't expect any less from Amager. So let's get stuck into this guy then. So this is the Arctic Sunstone, a collaboration between Three Floyds from Munster in Indiana and Amager Bryghus from Kastrup in Copenhagen, Denmark. Skål! that's nice. You can feel with this beer, if you've tried Batch 1000 and you've tried shadow pictures, building bridges and things like that, you can feel that this beer is just a little bit lighter, but you know, it certainly doesn't lack in flavour. It's a massive flavour, and I can see what they mean on the bottle when they say it's kind of dangerously sessionable. This, it's 6%. And of course that is starting to get, from what I remember, 6% is starting to get into IPA territory. But, you know, very, very nice beer, and you can, it is a little bit toned down in comparison to some of the other IPAs that I've had from Amager. The AP, of course, has a lower malt to hops ratio, but it's really nice. This is a really interesting beer, this. APAs are a style I've found myself getting a bit more into. There's some really good ones over here. But yeah, that's nice. The thing with this one in comparison to the other Amager ones I've had before, this one's a bit more of a subtle kind of blend of flavours. A lot of the other ones have components that are really in your face, but they're kind of a very big in your face blend. There's a whole host of complexity to the Amager beers. This one's just a bit more subtle, but has the same kind of complex blend characteristics. So let's try and dissect this flavour a little bit. As I always say, just sugar the beer around your palate and let your whole mouth adjust to this before you actually start to think about the different components of the flavour. Yeah. So as much as what you would expect from the aroma, so there's a really nice tropical fruit flavour in this one. There's a little bit of grapefruit, the passion fruits are in there, but I think the peaches come out a little bit more. If you go just behind the very front curve of your tongue, you'll feel this oily bubble, and that's where a lot of these fruity characters are coming out. There's maybe a little bit of a kind of mango and apricot-y flavour. Of course, that will come from the Citra hop. I always find the Citra gives me a kind of nice, more juicy tropical fruit, like the mango and apricot flavours, but I think the peaches and sort of maybe apricot flavours are coming out in this a little bit. Yeah, there is a definite sort of grapefruit backbone to this one, but I think on top of that you have some peaches and apricot, and I can feel the peaches coming out a little bit as you move into the aftertaste. But there's a good citrusy presence in this beer as well. There's some big sort of floral aromatic character there around the edges of the palate. You can pick up, particularly around the front, there's a floral aromatic character. It's a bit less pronounced than in some of the other Amager beers I've tried before. Usually they have this big, massive Hercules bitterness, but this one's a little bit less pronounced than that, and of course, again, something you would expect from the APA. But it's really nice. Can't fault it at all. So there's a nice floral aromaticity around the front kind of sides of the tongue. As you go further back, it smooths out. It becomes just, there's a little touch of earthiness in there, but again, not very much. It is mainly floral and aromatic. Around the front curve of the palate there, around the front curve of your tongue, it's more smooth and more grassy in my opinion. But as you move into the aftertaste, it becomes a little bit more floral and a little bit drier too. So quite interesting, and there's a definite pine resin, just quite a light pine resin just sitting there, and comes out more into the aftertaste, and of course that is from the Simcoe hop. Really nice. As your palate adjusts more too, you'll notice a citrusy presence coming out. That of course is from the Centennial hop in this beer, but you notice that just pushing its way out as your palate gets more used to this beer. But very nice. The malt base in this one is a very light bready malt base. That just blankets the middle of your tongue, and on top of it you've got a little bit of the kind of sweet biscuity character. There's not too much in the way of caramel in this one, I think. There's just a little bit of sweetness, but for me, the malt base on this is more about the bready character. I mean, really nice beer again. It's something a bit different from Amager, and you know, these guys, one of my favourite breweries from Scandinavia I've tried so far. They do some really good stuff, and if Three Floyds are collaborating with them, if this is a kind of reflection of Three Floyds beer as well, then I have to give them a thumbs up. I want to try some of their stuff too. But yeah, really nice beer this one. I'm enjoying this. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say it's light to mid-body. The carbonation is pretty smooth. Has a little bit of an oily mouthfeel, but nowhere near as oily as the kind of bigger IPAs and double IPAs and things like that. It's a nice, quite sessionable beer, and they do say that on the label. There's a good bitterness from the hops. Again, a little bit less pronounced than some of the other Amager ones, but really pardon me, very, very nice and really enjoyable. It's got quite a bit of juicy fruit character to it. As I said, a really interesting little quirk from the kind of peaches and passion fruit and apricot flavours in there, but there's some good sweet malty character in there too that just backs up just a little bit of sweetness on top of that bready character. But again, this is a very nice and very sessionable beer. For me, more of a hop forward one, which is exactly what you would expect from Amager, but you know, it's an awesome beer. This, I can see why it was one of my subscribers, actually, Swedish guy, recommended me to try this beer, and you know, it hasn't disappointed. I was quite lucky to find it, and I'm glad I got to review it because it is a limited edition. But yeah, really nice beer. So if you like American pale ales and you like the sort of bigger hoppy double IPAs and IPAs and things like that, but you want to try the lower end of the scale, then this is a really good one to start because it's got a lot of the flavour, but it's just a bit more less pronounced, if you like. As I say, these styles are all related by the malts and hop ratios that go into the beer, so it's quite an interesting little thing to try this one. And another awesome beer from Amager, and if this is a reflection on how Three Floyds brew their beer as well, I really need to try some of their beers too. But yeah, go and try the Arctic Sunstone. For people who love big hoppy beers, and quite sessionable big hoppy beers at that, this is a good one to try. Whether you'll find it or not, I'm not too sure. But yeah, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been really cool to revisit one of my favourite breweries here in Scandinavia. So do let me know your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it before. Always interesting to hear from you guys. Do let me know where you're trying this beer from as well. Hopefully I can return to Three Floyds. They seem to be a really quite flavourful and quite highly rated American brewery actually, so hopefully I can find some of their stuff. But I thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next one, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out my social media things too, and don't be scared to recommend me some beers. I will try and get a hold of them. So go and check out Amager Bryghus and also Three Floyds in America. Hopefully I can do some more Three Floyds, but this is another awesome beer from these guys, part of the collaboration series of 2015. But until my next beer review, do go and check out the links as I say, and I will catch you soon with my next beer review. Many more from Amager to come, and hopefully I can get some Three Floyds too. Slàinte just now.